The police showed up at my house because of sunlight. Not noise. Not drugs. Not violence. Sunlight. At 7:42 a.m., I was on my roof tightening the final bracket on my solar panels when a patrol car rolled slowly past my mailbox. Then another. They didn't rush. They circled. That's when I saw her. Diane Mercer, HOA president, perfect hair, perfect posture, perfect smile. She was pointing at my roof like I had committed a felony. "He's violating community code," she shouted, loud enough for the neighbors to open their blinds. I climbed down calmly. 20 years in the army teaches you one thing: never escalate first. The officer approached, professional, neutral. "Sir, we received a complaint about unauthorized structural modifications." Unauthorized? On my own house? I handed him the permit, county approved, signed, inspected. Diane didn't blink. She stepped closer. "Our HOA bylaws supersede that," she said smoothly. That was the first lie. Texas law protects solar installations from HOA bans. She knew that, I knew that. But she wasn't worried about being right. She was worried about being obeyed. And when the officer left without giving me a citation, I saw something shift behind her smile. This wasn't about panels anymore. It was about control. What I didn't know yet was how far she was willing to go to keep it. And I definitely didn't know that 3 weeks later, the same driveway would be filled with flashing lights. Just not for me. The letters started 2 days later. Certified mail, red stamps, urgent violation. My solar panels were labeled aesthetic contamination. That phrase made me laugh. Until the fine schedule arrived. $250 per day. Retroactive. She wasn't asking me to remove them. She was trying to financially bleed me. I attended the next HOA meeting. Folding chairs, lukewarm coffee, people pretending not to look at me. Diane opened with a speech about preserving neighborhood harmony. Then she projected a zoomed-in photo of my roof onto a screen like it was evidence in a murder trial. Gasp murmurs. "These installations reduce property values," she declared. I stood up slowly. Texas Property Code Section 202.01 protects solar energy devices from HOA prohibition. Silence. She didn't argue the law. She pivoted. "Your installation paperwork is incomplete." Second lie. I had inspection photos, time stamps, county signatures. I sent them to the board. 3 days later, I received another notice. Improper angle. Reflective glare hazard. Architectural disruption. The excuses multiplied. Neighbors began avoiding eye contact. One evening, I overheard Diane whispering to Mrs. Callahan next door. "If we let one veteran break the rules, the whole neighborhood collapses." Break the rules. I served overseas, so she could sit in a climate-controlled clubhouse and invent them. Then came the inspections. Random, frequent, intimidating. She'd walk the sidewalk with a clipboard, taking pictures of my driveway, my fence, my trash cans. One morning, I noticed something strange. A small black dome under the HOA entrance sign. Another near the clubhouse parking lot. Cameras. New. I checked the community financial report posted online. Security upgrades, $18,600. Odd. Because I work in commercial contracting now. Those cameras, retail cost, maybe $4,000 total. Installation, another $2,000 max. Not 18. I requested detailed invoices. Diane responded publicly in the HOA portal. Financial transparency is not a resident entitlement. That's when I stopped seeing her as petty and started seeing her as reckless. Because people who hide small numbers usually hide bigger ones. Then the retaliation escalated. A landscaping crew showed up unannounced, said they were instructed to remove unauthorized yard modifications. They were about to dig up the trench where my solar conduit ran. If they had cut that line, repairs would cost thousands. I stepped outside. Calm voice. Show me the written order. They didn't have one. Just verbal instruction from Diane. When they left, she stood across the street, arms folded, staring. This wasn't governance. This was obsession. I installed my own cameras the next day. Not hidden. Visible. Because I wanted her to know I was documenting everything. The following week, someone filed a complaint that my panels were causing eye injury from glare. There is no glare, they face south, angled properly. The complaint came from an anonymous board member, but the email metadata showed it originated from Diane's personal account. She forgot to mask it. Sloppy. Then I noticed something even worse. The HOA reserve fund, over $120,000 last year, had dropped to under $40,000. No major projects approved, no community upgrades. Just vague administrative expenses. And suddenly, the solar fight felt like a distraction. Because if she could intimidate me publicly, she could silence everyone else quietly. But I was about to learn something critical. When control starts slipping, people don't step back. They double down. And Diane was about to double down in a way she couldn't undo. The certified letter arrived on a Thursday. Notice of Lien. On my home. For unpaid HOA fines totaling $7,500. $7,500. Fabricated, inflated, unlawful. But liens don't care about feelings. They cloud titles, they freeze refinancing, they scare lenders. I called a property attorney. Consultation fee, $400. He reviewed the documents quietly. Technically, he said, you're right, but fighting this could take months, possibly a year. A year. Legal fees piling up. Time off work for hearings. Stress. That night, I sat at my kitchen table staring the Lien paperwork. For the first time, doubt crept in. Was it worth it? Maybe I should just pay it. Remove the panels. End it. That's how bullies win. Not loudly. Gradually. Neighbors stopped waving altogether. Rumors spread that I was suing the community. I was defending my roof. Then the power company called. Someone had reported unsafe electrical modifications tied to my address. They scheduled an inspection. If they flagged anything, my system could be disconnected. That report required documentation. Permit numbers. Technical details. Only someone with access to HOA submissions could have compiled it. Diane. The inspection came and passed without issue. But the stress didn't. Then came the breaking point. A neighborhood email blast claimed I was installing commercial-grade solar for profit, violating residential policy. It was absurd. But fear spreads faster than facts. Attendance at the next HOA meeting doubled. I walked into a room already against me. Diane stood at the front with a binder thicker than a phone book. Charts, photos, highlighted bylaws. She framed me as aggressive, uncooperative, disruptive. And for a moment, it worked. Hands raised in favor of enforcing the lien. Murmurs of community standards. I felt alone. 20 years of service, reduced to a line item dispute. I drove home that night thinking maybe I miscalculated. Maybe I underestimated her reach. Because power inside small communities doesn't require truth. It requires confidence. And she had plenty. Then something unexpected happened. An envelope slid under my door. No name. Inside was a USB drive. One file. Video footage. Time-stamped. 2:14 a.m. Diane standing inside the HOA clubhouse office, removing financial documents from a filing cabinet, stuffing them into a personal tote bag. The camera angle matched one of the security upgrades, except that camera wasn't listed in the official system diagram, which meant someone else had access, and someone else was watching her too. For the first time in months, the balance shifted, but I couldn't celebrate yet, because exposing corruption inside a homeowners association doesn't make you popular. It makes you dangerous. And dangerous people either win quietly or get crushed publicly. The next move would decide which one I'd be. I didn't go to the police immediately. I made copies, backups, cloud storage, external drives. Then I met with my attorney again. This time, he didn't lean back casually. He leaned forward. "Do you know what this implies?" he asked. "Yes. Embezzlement. Misuse of HOA funds. Possibly criminal charges." We subpoenaed financial records through a formal demand letter citing suspected fiduciary breach. Diane responded with confidence. Baseless accusations from a disgruntled homeowner. But something changed. The board meeting scheduled for the following Tuesday was suddenly postponed, then rescheduled, then moved to the clubhouse instead of the usual community hall. Controls slipping. At the meeting, attendance tripled. Word spreads fast when money is involved. My attorney presented the footage. Projected. Silent. Diane's face drained of color. Someone gasped. Another neighbor whispered, "That's the reserve cabinet." She tried to speak, to clarify. But clarification doesn't erase timestamps. We presented discrepancies, inflated security costs, duplicate vendor invoices, payments routed to a contracting company registered under her brother's name. The room turned, not loudly, but decisively. A motion was filed to freeze HOA accounts pending independent audit. Passed unanimously. That same week, a forensic accountant uncovered over $63,000 in misallocated funds. Security systems, landscaping contracts, administrative reimbursements. The solar fight was never about panels. It was about distraction. If she kept the neighborhood focused on my roof, no one would look at the books. But greed leaves patterns, and patterns leave evidence. The county sheriff's department opened an investigation. Not dramatic, professional, quiet. 2 deputies arrived one afternoon, not at my house. At hers. Neighbors watched from porches. No shouting. No theatrics. Just paperwork and handcuffs. Diane didn't look angry. She looked stunned, like someone who believed the rules didn't apply to her. The lien on my house. Immediately voided. Public apology issued by the interim board. But the real consequence wasn't legal. It was social. The same neighbors who avoided me began knocking on my door. Apologies, explanations. "I didn't know. You were right. That's the thing about truth. It doesn't scream. It waits. And when it surfaces, it doesn't need to. The solar panels are still there, generating power every morning. Silent, efficient, unbothered. The HOA board was restructured within a month. Financial oversight policies rewritten. Independent audits required annually. Transparency portal launched. Ironically, my house now has the highest property valuation on the block. Turns out sustainability increases value. Who knew? I didn't celebrate when Diane's case went to court. I didn't attend. Because this was never personal revenge. It was boundary enforcement. There's a difference. People think power looks loud, aggressive, dominant. But real power, it's documented. Every permit copied. Every conversation logged. Every threat saved. I didn't win because I argued better. I won because I recorded better. And because I refused to be financially bullied into silence. Sometimes the system works. Not fast. Not perfectly. But eventually. The day after her arrest, I stood in my driveway again. Same spot the patrol cars once parked. Same sunlight hitting the panels she tried to ban. Only difference. Silence. No whispers. No warnings. Just sunlight. And accountability. Hear what I've learned. If someone fights you over something legal, documented, and harmless, it's rarely about that thing. It's about control. And when control slips, corruption panics. So let me ask you something. If she had never pushed back against my solar panels, would anyone have ever looked at the books? Or would $63,000 still be quietly disappearing? While the neighborhood argued about sunlight.